Hi there, I'm Ronit and I'm interviewing Steve White, our governor at Fullhurst for our 30th year anniversary of Fullhurst. My first question is, when did you become a governor at Fullhurst?
I got involved, I've done my calculations about 8 or 9 years ago. And I had a phone call from a certain person who I think may be known to you, the chair of governors, Rick Moore, who happens to be, you know, a good friend, very, very long standing. And he said to me, how would you like to get involved in a great college like Fullhurst? And how can you refuse an offer like that? But that was the offer. But I did know, which I'm sure we'll come to when you ask me a few other questions, why I particularly wanted to get involved in Fullhurst. But the straightforward answer is about 8 or 9 years ago.
Wow, okay, that's great. My second question is, how did you become a governor at Fullhurst?
I've sort of gone a little way to answering that question. I became a governor. I mean, I suppose we've got to start with the fact that I very strongly believe in a whole system of governors playing a part. You know, to me, I wouldn't be doing this unless I thought, A, I could offer something, but secondly, I can learn something. You know, and I mean, so in a way, I was already convinced because I had been involved and still am with another college that I mentioned in passing, Ellesmere College, where I happen to be chair of governors, how meaningful that is. So it was a combination of Rick's request. It was also something, as I've mentioned already, about knowing the journey that Fullhurst was on.
Yeah.
And I'll put it in simple terms. I go back a long way. I'm sure you've done your own homework, but I happen to be a long while back, nearly 20 years ago. I was the head of a particular college in this city. I'm very pleased to be so. And I'd already realized from that time how Fullhurst, I'll put it in simple terms again, was showing what it could do, but it was, let's put it simply, it was struggling a bit for a whole host of reasons. And I think the main reasons were it always had good people there, but it didn't actually have the right buildings, maybe the right structures. So straightforwardly, I thought, well, if I can play my part,
yeah,
why would I not get involved? And really, I've rolled my sleeves up and literally got involved, and I'm happy, you know, to still be involved.
Definitely. That's great. My third question is, what does your roles as a governor entail?
Well, again, I've gone a little way, you know, preempting this, but it's great. I tell you, by the way, it's great to have the questions nice and clear in advance, and one can do a little bit of thinking. The role, it's like befriending somebody. I think the nearest I can describe the role of a governor is you want to influence a place in a positive way, but the only way you will ever be able to do that is you've got to have a relationship with that place.
An attachment.
And the formal way of doing that is through being a governor. And I think what we're told from on high, you know, from governments and custom and practice from the past, governors really are doing two things. They are challenging, that they do need to ask questions of the people who are running the college. And sometimes that can be quite awkward, you know, if things are not quite working out the way you want them to. But so you're there to challenge, but most of the time you're there to support, and you're really a second opinion. So if somebody comes up with a good idea, let's say it's a teacher or through the student council, that gets fed into the system. And then they might say, well, why don't we ask our governors what they think? And so I think the best way I can describe it is, hopefully we add value to what's going on in a place. if you've not got governors and people a bit like Rick who have been in industry, you know, been out there doing jobs and still do, people, I don't know, who run a care home or whatever it is, they all have something to contribute. So I always find it stimulating in our governing. Look, again, I'll be blunt with you. Sometimes you just got to do the business. And have you heard of a saying? It's like watching paint dry. You know, I mean, sometimes they're not the most inspiring, but you've just got to get through those things. But what is inspiring is to meet a group of people who really do have the college as their first interest and probably best interest, and they want to make that college better. And I think that's what we're going to go on to next. So what are the changes? And yeah.
So our fourth question is, what changes have you seen since being governor at Fullhurst?
You know what? I can hardly exaggerate this. I have seen Fullhurst College improve incredibly. I don't mean to say it's still not got a lot of challenges, and when you do improve and you get better and better, people expect you to maintain that standard, and that's not always easy. But you know, Fullhurst was really finding, I think, life. I go back a bit further, just really. I'm not matching this for when, because I started that time, but probably 9 or 10 years ago. Overall, it was probably not in such a good place. I'll tell you one simple statistic. How do you measure the worth of a school? One simple statistic is, how popular is it? So let's say you've got at the time, probably you got 900 places overall, and then only 750 people want to come to you. It says, well, maybe this is not doing all it could do. When you've got 1,500 places and you've got a waiting list of 20 or 30, and that's what's happening really at Fullhurst now, it tells me that Fullhurst is getting a lot of things right. Why is it changed? One simple statistic is it's managed to acquire and develop fantastic leadership. You know, again, I'm not going to name too many people in this, but I already have one or two. But I would like to pick out a guy called Tom Campbell, who came, you know, or way back, was it about 10 or 11 years ago. He was appointed, you know, obviously through the governors or proper procedures. And he really knew what the challenge was, but he also got to grips with it. So he didn't shy away from the challenges. And I'll tell you a little story. One of the things that, when things are not going well, you're not really that keen to maybe instigate things that you think might make it worse. So students were not necessarily behaving the best, and they went out for lunch, and then they came back, and the community at the time, I'm going back 10 years, were not very happy, because what happened in that community when students are not behaving themselves, it's not very nice, is it?
Yeah. So
what Tom Campbell said to the staff, he said, look, we've really got to show people we mean business, so we're all going to stay for lunch. Nobody's going off site. And I don't think at the time the staff were that happy about that, because they thought, oh my goodness, you know, it's hard enough as it is. But, you know, they did it. They built in activities and sporting activities, arts activities, useful things that people could do. Maybe people might get the homework out the way at lunchtime, so they're not going to do it in the evening. And it transformed that place. I mean, that's just one example of so many. And of course, when you do become popular, what happens? People want to come and, why are you there, Ronnie? And we'll come to that in a minute. But you know what? It's because your parents at the time want you to be there. And that's what's made the difference for Fullhurst. The majority. After saying that, we've got to face up to our challenges. I mean, COVID, as I'm sure you know, and like everybody else, has brought incredible difficulties and challenges and whatever. And I'm sure I'm not going to ask you the question, but if you were asked, I bet there are aspects of the education you've had or not had that you're not particularly happy about. Maybe your parents are not, but I think you've got to find a way of trying to overcome your challenges. And I think that's what Fullhurst does very well. It's a group of people who in real life, they face up to the challenges. And that's what, Fullhurst is doing. So, well done to Fullhurst so far.
That's great. Okay, our next question is, what else would you like to achieve in your role as governor at Fullhurst?
I'd like to see, and it's what we're doing today, Ronnie, it's actually, I like to see students more involved in activities. I mean, I would say this, wouldn't I? But I genuinely mean it from the bottom of my heart. I think if students, I've been watching the COP, I'm sure you have, up in Glasgow. And I'm not going to say Greta Thunberg, but I mean, I feel that sometimes young people's voice really does need to be heard, because, it'll only, and is a here and now, which we've got to deal with, but really we want to set the tone for the future. And that's what we can do if we've got students on board. So I mean, I'd give you a job, not literally, you've got an education to get and be part of, but I'd say get the student voice out there, make sure students are heard, and that's on both sides. When there's something good going on, let them shout loud. When there's something not so good going on, I say shout loud, but make sure that voice is heard, and we can work together, and that will make, I suppose the second thing is, I want to improve standards. I want people to get better exam results and all that sort of thing, but I want people, it's going to sound a bit grand, I want people to be better human beings. I want people to just be able to feel confident in their own ability. Believe it or not, people say to me, were you a confident child? And I wasn't really. I think I no criticism, or not much, for the schools that I went to, but it was only when people further down the line, when I went to college and went into my first teaching job, that people then give you confidence. And I think so confidence building is very, very, very important. So yeah, I mean, well-rounded students, and I will get this sort of last one in. If you've not heard, I'm very keen on sports. I'm wearing my Leicester City shirt. You can't see it, but I'm very proud. I've only been a supporter for nearly 70 years, so that's not bad, is it? I get along. Yeah. But I love basketball, I love rugby, I love cricket, and I love table tennis. So I'm really trying hard to get more table tennis activities into the college. And I was only talking to our table tennis coach that goes in to onto the Foss campus on a Monday and a Thursday. Year 7 gets something, year 8 gets something. What year are you in?
11.
11. Well, yeah. So maybe we can get more sport and table tennis into the curricula. Well, into what you do.
Yes, definitely. I think that's it for all of my questions. Yeah.
So you tell me what you think a student body you could do to, as well as what we're doing today. How could you bring improvements to Fullhurst now and in the future?
Well, again, I think with what we're doing now, it's actually really good that we do interviews like this to convey our ideas and what we think, but just generally, like you said earlier on, to see what students think, that's a really positive way of seeing how Fullhurst should improve. Definitely.
So have you had a game? Do you ever play table tennis then?
We actually did play table tennis in PE, I think maybe just before COVID.
Anyway, I've really enjoyed this interview, and I think you've got a natural talent. So maybe you'll go into journalism or something.
Thank you for joining us, Steve, today at Fullhurst.
Really enjoyed it. Keep up the good work. And what have you got this afternoon, by the way? What are you looking forward to?
Biology.
Oh, you like biology, do you?
Yes, triple student, so I should do.
Oh, that's good news then. Yeah, thanks everybody. Really brilliant. Cheers.
Thank you.